Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new live stream. It's been a while since the last one. I know the summer is always busy for some reason. And we have quite the topic for you today. We're going to do a live paywall teardown. I've done a whole bunch of other teardowns. We did ASO teardowns, SAP teardowns, ASA, Apple Search Ad teardowns. That was kind of the recent. And now we're going to do Apple. We're going to do a live paywall teardown where we're going to take a look at paywalls and we're going to analyze them. As always, welcome to the show. I would love to know what's in your cup as we wait for people to shuffle in. I broke one of these this morning and I only had two, and we ran out of these, so I'm going to have to make some more mugs. If you want a mug, I'll tell you how to get one at the end of the video. Tell me what's in your cup and where you're from as we let people shuffle in. I'm drinking, what am I drinking? I'm drinking tea, App Figures mug, black tea. I'm back to black tea. I was on green teas for a while, and I'm fully black. My Earl Grey is my favorite. And very soon we'll bring in our guest, Jake, and we'll start talking about paywall. So what's in your cup, where you're from, and we'll continue from there. Oh, I see water. Need a mug. Okay, Everlance needs a mug. Everlance is actually one of the apps we're going to look at today, so that's going to be fun. For the people who say hi, hello, it's good to see you as well. What kind of? It's good to have you on the chat. My chat is over here. That's where my eyes are going, in case you're curious. Water from Germany. Cloudy lemonade with ice. Cloudy is good? We'll go with a yes. Water from Saudi Arabia. Wow. I don't remember the last time we had someone from Saudi Arabia on the show. Miami is in the house. Argentina is in the house. We're so global. This is so much fun. I'm so glad we're doing this. So we're going to let more people shuffle in as we do this. Again, what's in your cup, where you're from, and we'll bring our guest on the screen very, very soon. Andreas has soap in his cup as he's washing dishes. Cool. I think that's also a first. We're breaking a lot of firsts today. Coke Zero from Israel. Nice. Water from the Philippines. I'm starting to believe everyone is just drinking water, and I'm the only one with tea. Maybe I'll do an App Figures tea at some point. It'll be orange. That's all I can say. But alrighty. We're on the show. I'm going to bring our guest in. For those of you who don't know Jake is the founder of Superwall and also, in my opinion, one of the smartest people in our industry. He knows a lot about paywalls, and he's done a lot with paywalls, and that's why he's here. So welcome, Jake, to the stage. Hello, Jake. It's great to have you on the show
Hello,
again.
hello. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So Jake was here once before, and last time Jake was here, there was an audio problem, and Jake just cowboyed through it and made it all work. One of our probably
I
best
forgot
live
about that.
streams talking about paywalls. So hopefully today there are no audio problems. That's step number one. And we'll talk about what you can do to make your paywalls better with live examples. But before we even do that, Jake, take the stage. Tell us a little bit more about you and how you know so much about paywalls.
For sure. Yep. So my name is Jake. I am the CEO and co-founder at Superwall. If you don't know us, what we do is we let you make paywall updates without app updates. So you can change anything about your paywall, the pricing, where it is, who sees it, and you could run experiments all remotely from our web editor. How do I know so much about this? At first, I just knew a little bit about this running my own app. So I started in the same place as everyone who's watching, most likely. And yeah, over the years, we built a lot of software to help people run these experiments. And in helping our customers, I've just learned so much more. So yep, I know I probably personally make between 50 and 100 paywalls a week. We run around 10 experiments per week with all those different variants. And yeah, we're just constantly learning, adjusting. And yeah, I would say the most interesting thing about what I do is my intuition for what works actually hasn't gotten any better. The only thing I know for sure is that you have to run way more experiments. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. If I say it, it's just because I've seen it win before. But yeah, there are not many, tricks that are sort of transferable between apps. But hopefully, yeah, hopefully I'll prove myself wrong with some advice today.
Honesty from Jake to start the day here
Yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy.
in New York City. But I think it's a
Just
really valid
test,
point.
test, test, test.
Like no one knows, and especially on the App
No
Store.
one
I say
knows.
this with App Store optimization too, and it's pretty true with Apple Search Ads and really anything where you can put in effort in front of a large group of people. Whether it's with your screenshots and how to optimize those, or with your App Store optimization keywords, or really anything else. Obviously, your paywalls too. So, alrighty, that's I think that's a good intro. If you have any questions for us, drop them in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them as we're going through. But let's jump right into it. I put 8 apps. I selected 8 apps at random from all of you who submitted them. You got about a week to submit them, and we're going to try and go through as many as possible. If you've done this before with me, you know that getting to 8 is going to be a stretch, but we'll try to get through as many as we can, highlighting the good, the bad, the ugly, and providing some things that Jake has seen before as tips. So let's do this. Let's bring in our computer and let's talk about our first one, which is Everlance mileage tracker. Now, the instructions when I asked people to submit were give me your paywalls. I didn't really say how many, so we have ones with 1 paywall, we have ones with 5 paywalls. I think this is the most screenshots that I got, so I squeezed them into this page, but maybe that's a good place to start, Jake. What do you think about big paywalls versus small paywalls, or multiple paywalls versus just one main paywall?
Multiple paywalls are a must. So if you have, I think every placement, every touch point in your app should have a different paywall, personally. Um, the way you get started, obviously, is I would say just like a different paywall during onboarding and a different in-app paywall. Then what I would do is look at all the touch points inside of the application and see which of those touch points have highest conversion rates. And then I would build custom paywalls for those. So you sort of have like your tier 1 paywalls, then everything
Mm,
else.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think last time on the show you mentioned that it was kind of like landing pages.
Yeah, you can think of it as a landing page.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Especially if you're trying to unlock a feature, like if you're a photo editing app and you're trying to use the crop tool, it'd be great to show their uncropped image, then their cropped image and say unlock tool.
Yeah,
That's like
exactly.
a lot of context.
And it's right there. And that should be
Yeah,
pretty easy to do, especially if you template it. And you can do one for each feature. That's what we do on the site, actually, on the
exactly.
platform. It works pretty well. Alrighty, so let's talk about Everlance. For the record, I have not seen any of these apps before. I heard about some of them, but never really seen them or looked at their paywall. So for me, all of this is brand new. What do you think about what we're seeing on the screen, which I assume is really 2 pages? One is the first slide or is the first screenshot, and then the rest are just the page being scrolled and toggled between monthly and yearly.
Yeah, I think no, actually, I think they're 2 different paywalls. I think the first
Yeah.
page, I'm not sure, but in general, the
Everlance, please clarify in the chat. But I think the first one is one view, and then you click next, and you get to the paywall, which is a second view. All right, Everlance agrees. 2 pages. The first one is the
2
first
pages.
view, and then the second one is basically a scrolled version or a cut version of what you would see as you scroll.
Wait, so our Everlance are the last 4 screenshots, 4 screenshots of the same paywall, type
Yeah,
screen paywall.
that's
Okay,
what I
cool.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think let me think.
What do you like about this?
Okay,
We'll
for
start with that.
starters, I like what do I like about it?
That's a starting point
I mean, I think
when
it's
that's
I think it's
hard.
fine. It's a tough one. I like that the CTA button says start my 7-day trial. I think that's pretty good.
Okay.
Tests I've run, you should try it free, start for free, start my
Mm,
trial. So start my 7-day trial is good. Um, always say 7 days instead of 1 week because
really?
7 is more than one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just
That's a good point.
um the contrast of the white and the yellow worries me a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. That's the first thing my eye was attracted to. Is like, what am I looking at?
But maybe then it forces you to kind of read it.
Yeah, but I think people
Um,
are lazy enough that they wouldn't. So if
yeah,
you, I
yeah,
might say,
maybe.
let me do that later. I think anytime someone says, let me do that later, that's the root of all evil, and you don't get a conversion because they won't.
Yeah. I like that. you're showing the monthly breakdown on the right-hand side of premium versus premium plus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you
I would make
tested
the
left and
save
right?
37%. Um, well, wait, what do you mean?
So putting monthly to the left of yearly or yearly to the left of monthly, because I would put monthly and then yearly. And I've tested this on the site. I know that it does give conversion. It's really confusing.
Oh, interesting. I've never made a distinction of which is on the left or which is on the right.
Oh, okay.
But typically I see the monthly breakdowns to, I think your eye kind of goes to the right, like the T scanning.
Hmm.
Um, I would put the save 37%. I'd make that red. Believe it or not, it would really pop, and I'd put that in the button
Interesting.
in the most popular button. Um, what else would I do? It's a little tough to like. I think that the yeah, it's interesting that you chose to segment by monthly and yearly with the segmented view, as opposed to premium and premium plus. I think it's smart the way that they did it. Because
Okay.
the intuition might be here's premium, premium plus. But I like how they did it this way. I feel like more people um are choosing premium plus this way.
You think so?
It's weird. I think so. Well, if as opposed to it being on separate pages.
Yeah. Oh, I see. I see.
Um,
Yep. Makes sense.
I'm wondering why the yearly is to the right and monthly is to the left with the picker. Is that
Yeah.
what you were talking about?
Yeah. That's what I was talking about. I thought that's what you were talking about before.
Oh, I was talking about how it says 4.99 a month versus 9.99 a month. It shows the monthly breakdown inside of the button.
Oh, I see. I see. Yep. I was talking about the
But yeah,
placement.
I agree this is a little odd. I feel like yearly should be to the left if it's higher LTV.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, so it doesn't make any intuitive sense from just looking at things or designing things, but there's been a lot of studies on pricing pages and how you have to start with where you want the user to be, and that's on the left here, especially in the U.S. and left to right, speaking country or writing country. In any case, in English, and so it does actually work. We did it on our website. This is a few years ago, and it worked. It didn't look good, and it caused some confusion, and we were getting more support tickets. And people were saying, "Oh, you only have expensive plans." We're like, "No, not at all. Look at this range." Like, "Oh, I didn't see the plan all the way on the right," which is exactly what you want. But maybe if you have too many, we tried it with five. That's way too many. With two,
Mm.
probably the way to go about it. And the difference in prices is actually, I think, good enough that you're getting a deal when you go yearly. So it's not like you're paying more money or paying for something you don't need. So
I totally agree.
yeah, my first thing when I was looking at this, it made me feel a lot like a website, and even the hype page feels a lot more like a landing page with a hero. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but there's just a lot going on that I don't know if a lot going on in this particular app is the way to go, but I would test something a little bit more simplified. I think that when it comes to having a lot of features, you do have to display them, but people don't really care much for features. They care for the one feature that they really want the app for, one or two or three, like the selection of features that they're really in the app for. And that really goes along with what we were saying before about how if you have a landing page that's really more feature specific, I think you can capture that a lot more easily. So maybe your main paywall could have a few more, but then your other paywalls could be really hyper specific, either to a feature or maybe even potentially a use case, depending on the kind of user who uses this app. I don't really use a mileage tracker, so I'm not entirely sure why I would need it, but that's kind of where I would look at the why do I need this? I don't need all the features. I don't care about all the features. I care about like two or three features, and I think probably different people care about a sliding window of different features. That'll be my guess.
I totally agree. I mean, so I think the problem it's solving is actually really really good
Hmm.
because they're selling to professionals or like small
Yeah,
businesses or freelancers.
yeah,
Um, so the retention's probably really good because the more business you get, the better retention is.
and you need
I
something.
like that. Yeah, yeah. I like that. There are free manual trips, so you can log a manual trip, and then maybe sort of understand, oh, okay, I get what an automatic trip would be after
Yeah,
doing it manually. Um, so I like that. Um, I think maybe an explainer video would be great because
In the
I
paywall?
could imagine a lot. Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
With like subtitles. No audio, but just a
Okay.
video. It's more of like an animated slideshow, maybe. Um, I wonder if most people downloading this are already doing this and they realize like, oh, I need an app for
Mm.
this. Or is it that they just found this way they could be saving money that they never heard of?
Mhm.
Um, and so it would change. It would be like, did you know you could be saving this much on your taxes? Versus
Interesting.
like throw that book out the window, like stop recording everything
Yeah.
manually by hand. Um, so yeah, I'm curious what the pitch is that works. And I think they would know through their ads.
Yeah, through their ads and probably through the reviews too.
Yes, through their reviews, absolutely.
If you see a heavy
That's
review
a great
sentiment
call.
for just found this app, love it, or just found this app saving a ton of money versus this makes my life simpler, you know that it's
Mhm.
you know which group that is.
Absolutely. But yeah, love it. I are we sharing the conversion rates or is that not being shared?
I asked on the form. I didn't really know if that's private information or not, so I left it out and I didn't put it on. If you want to share, if your app is on the screen and you want to share your conversion rate, please put it in the chat so people can know if you
That's
feel
okay.
comfortable doing that. I wasn't really sure, so I didn't. I didn't use any of our estimates either for this. This is mostly focused on the paywall. Although maybe in the future we can do that. Show a conversion rate, maybe show revenue and show estimated downloads, and we can use that to make sense, make more sense of it. But that's for the future. So now we have better plans. But okay, overall, I
Cool.
think this is good. I do see a lot with my eyes, and I think to me that's kind of a problem. But we're also seeing the entire thing in one screen, which is not how it's going to be
Yep.
on an iPhone. And this is for people who are doing something where they need a feature as opposed to want a feature. So I think that's not terrible, but we do have a few good tips here, and hopefully we can get those experimented with, and hopefully that will introduce a higher conversion rate. So very cool. Let's go to the next one on our list. Our next one only has what looks like I think a screenshot of scrolled scrolled paywall and also another one. So two things. Trying to figure out what is going on here. Again, I don't know these apps, so I didn't really know what I'm getting myself into when I copied and pasted a whole bunch of screenshots into this. But the app is Bandle, Guess the Song, and it is a trivia game. We have another trivia game in a few slides, so that's interesting. Um, where do you want to start with this? Because I have a few problems with what I'm seeing on the screen that I think are hurting conversion.
Um, are we sure that it's a scrolls paywall, or did you tap one of the free packs, then it goes to the second page?
That I'm not sure. I just got these uploaded, so this was submitted by the developer of this app. My
I have
guess,
no idea.
yeah, my guess is
There's
that
no pricing.
on the right side, yeah. I mean, there is at the what is it? What's going on at the top? Let's take a closer look. Oh no, it's all free. Yeah, this is very interesting. What's going on here? That's what happens when I pick a random. I get weird things. If Bandle
Um,
is your app, please let us know what's going on in the chat so we can understand what's going on.
but yeah, at a very basic level, no, a couple of screenshots missing here. Yes, it's scrolled. Screenshot with pricing is missing. Okay, got it.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Sorry about that.
I
Well,
would say, let me see something.
we'll start with the design. What do you think about the look of this? And I know this probably aligns with the look of the app itself, but what do you think about this more visual, more graphical, more designy type thing for a
You know,
paywall?
it's tough. It's tough because I remember Amazon did a test. They were testing out what color purchase button they should
Mhm.
have. Or maybe it wasn't Amazon.
It was
I
Amazon
don't
a
know. They tested a
long time
bunch of
ago.
it. From what I understand, they tested a bunch of different colors, and it actually didn't matter. What
Hmm.
mattered was that it was a color versus not a color,
Oh,
and that
okay.
it sort of popped. So it was actually the other elements on the screen that had more of effect than the actual button. So it's hard to make a button that stands out. That's just something that's hard to do.
Hmm.
Like I don't know where the CTAs are. Um,
Yeah, that would also
you
be
could do it.
my immediate
Yeah.
reaction. Where do I click? Where do I tap?
Where do I click? It like on the right, it looks like you're supposed to click on restore purchases.
Hmm.
Um, but that might not be floating. I bet that scrolls to the bottom. I would try bigger buttons.
Hmm.
Um, we always do something people usually do when they add Superwall is they want to do an integration test. So they want to test their native paywall versus their Superwall paywall.
Okay.
And they want to make sure that, conversion rates are the same, that everything is set up properly. And anytime that doesn't go well, it's usually because of two reasons. Um, One, the X button is bigger in the Superwall version, so people close the paywall faster. And two, the text inside of the purchase button is smaller. So if you have a bigger X button and if you have smaller text, it hurts conversions. So you can really get almost obnoxious with the size of the purchase button, like really push it to what your design threshold is. So in this example, at least for the screenshot on the right, I would make the buttons full width and I'd add padding to the top and the bottom. I'd increase the font size and I'd change it to sentence case because sentence case is, I think, provably easier to read than all caps.
Yeah, I kind of like that. So I pulled up the screenshot with the pricing, and it looks very similar to the screenshot we see on the left, where we have boxes, and each box has some information and a big. This one says free. The paywall says get now, and I think that's to me that's the problem. I used to be of the opinion that the more options you give people, the better because it's options. People don't really want just the one thing that they're going to get. And that's true, but they don't want too many options. They only want the one or the two or the three options max. And really beyond that, you start to get into which one should I get? Should I get the bigger one? Am I going to use more songs? Or should I get the smaller one, then get the bigger one later? But then let me calculate in my mind what's the price difference if I get, I think this says
Mhm.
69 famous music for movies for $199 or 145 songs released after 2010 for $299. Now we have all these weird challenges of what are these packs really worth for me, and that's kind of a problem, in my opinion. The other thing is that when you have multiple buttons that all look the same, the eye just gets confused. So I don't really know what's the right way to solve this. But if I had to try one experiment I would run, and I don't know how easy this would be with Superwall, so tell me, but if I have a whole bunch of options that I want, and the user might want to buy, the user would have to buy one at a time. I have packs, I have song packs. This is 93 popular songs released between 1990 and 2000, 91 songs released between 2000 and 2010. If I had a list of all the options and I could select the one I want, and then there's only one
Mhm.
buy this button, like buy now or get it or
Yeah, you
get
could do that.
singing, you can. So that's really
Yeah,
what I would do. This way, you don't have a button for each. You have a single button.
exactly.
So it's one decision. Which pack should I get? And then next. As opposed to, do I want this pack? Should I click the button? Should I tap the button? Do I want this pack? Should I do this?
Mhm.
Which I think will be considerably easier for the user.
I agree. I would look at Tinder for inspiration because they have a very similar, tons of different products and packs and product categories. And I'm sure they do a great job of packaging them and presenting them nicely on the paywall.
And
Um,
I think Tinder is
yeah,
probably one of the best companies to learn from. They have the biggest teams for optimizing paywalls that I ever heard
yeah,
of.
totally.
So it makes sense.
For now.
Yeah. Ha. I know nothing. But also, I think from a visual standpoint, I looked. If you look at the fonts on this, the fonts are not inviting, and I know this is probably a nuance most people will not understand. And I never used to understand fonts until we started redesigning our logo back in 2015. Not the redesign that we launched a few months ago, but the redesign of our actual logo. And I went on this journey of understanding font sizes and kernings and roundness and smoothness and how fonts make you feel, which I wrote about in some of my guides, especially when talking about screenshots. But here I kind of feel the same way. These fonts feel a little bit aggressive to me. They're not friendly. They're not inviting. And usually with music or with entertainment, you have kind of chubbier fonts. They're more wide than they are tall. And there's a reason for that. They're just very inviting and very friendly. And these are a little bit more scary. The 5 free songs to give you a taste of Bandle. Why is the 5 larger? I'm not buying 5 things. I'm getting songs so I can try and do what the app does for me, so I can play this game. So I would rework the fonts a little bit, simplify, and then also take away all the buttons and only have one. I think that could have a really amazing conversion on this. I kind of want to try this myself now. Bandle, if you try this, please let me know. I'm extremely curious if this is something that will make you more money. Let's
I'm
see.
curious too.
Let's see what we have next. We should do a revisit these in a few months after they tried a few things, and we'll see if that made any difference.
We should. It'd be like in HGTV when they visit the family.
Yep, exactly. If your app is on this and you're into it, please let me know either through the chat or later on, and then we'll do that. Okay. Next is ReciMe, which it was actually the only app that I know because I met one of the founders at your party last week. So, what do you think about this? I think you're probably more familiar with this than with the other ones.
I think this is I mean, I think it's great. I think that the CTA is very clear. I say all this with a grain of salt because the founder of this company, well, one of the founders, his name is Will. We just did a hands-on paywall sort of revamp with him, and my version just didn't beat his version.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so I mean, yeah. So honestly, my intuition on this one specifically is off, but I can say I do know some of the tips that we give in general that do great. This paywall is incredible. Will is a master. He's a master, tester and experimenter, and um, I think what matters less is that this paywall is great, and what matters more is he has an excellent framework for thinking about these things. I mean, he's maniacal, and that's sort of that's kind of what you need to be. That's what you need to be doing. He's constantly testing. Um, but yes, some things that are great here. The trial timeline obviously works awesome.
Yeah.
Um, no payment now. This is like magic text that just kind of works. This is one of those things like it's actually a trick that usually always does something great. Um, we tried changing start your free week versus start 7 days free.
Okay.
And start your free week actually did better.
Oh,
So
wow. So
that's
seven
something to
versus
remember.
one did not win.
Yeah, but also we changed a lot of things in the paywall, so it's not really a clean
Uh,
experiment
okay.
to be fair.
You're just trying to make
But
more
yeah,
money.
I don't pretty much that's what everyone's just trying to do.
Yeah.
Um, I love that it says 2 million plus happy cooks. I love that he shows the monthly breakdown at the bottom. I love that the pricing is under the CTA instead of over it. And I love that
Okay.
no payment due now is over it. I think that always, it's like no payment due now. It's hard for people to really register that a free week means they don't have to pay. So I don't know why saying no payment now is so awesome. And then another great thing is ResMe uses a sort of out of the box feature that Superwall has, where we let you show back-to-back paywalls.
Hmm.
And so what happens in this flow is when you get to the paywall, you see the screen on the right.
Okay.
When you click that X button, the screen on the left pops up. And it's like
Oh.
if you're really not interested, here's 30% off. And it's just a cheaper yearly. Um, and yep,
Oh, I see.
those do great. There's a reason why we make it a standard feature. Like you integrate, you don't have to like specifically code that to get that functionality.
That's pretty cool. So
Um,
that 30%, do you know roughly if, not specifically for this paywall, but in general, if adding an offer after someone made the paywall go away, if that's a good idea or a bad idea?
it's a very, very good idea. I
Okay.
don't know the specific numbers, but historically, I would bet that between 10 and 20% of conversions would come from the
Wow.
second paywall. Yeah.
And
You
do
know
you,
where it's really powerful?
okay.
But I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no, go ahead, go ahead.
So there's a thing with how many products should you put on your paywall?
Hmm.
And most people, so it's true that these two things are facts. If you do one product, more people will choose that one, right?
Hmm.
Than if it was one of three products. So if you have, let's just talk tangibly. Let's say you have three products on paywall A and one product on paywall B. On paywall B, you'll with only one product, you'll get less overall conversions, but more conversions towards that one product.
Hmm.
So what that means is you have a chance to throw your highest LTV product there and make the most money.
Yeah.
Because yeah, even though it's lower conversions overall. On the other hand, if you have three products, there's a price for everybody, right? No matter
Hmm.
what your demand is. So your conversion rates are higher, but there are less people choosing your highest LTV product.
Yeah.
So what I love to do is you show a paywall with one product on it, and if the user taps the X button, show them the options,
The
because
everything.
this way, yeah, this way you get the best of both worlds. No matter what, you're going to show everyone the three options, but also no matter what, people are going to consider buying your highest LTV product first. Um,
And even if not, it's going to anchor it pretty well. So when they
it
reach
really
the
does.
all the other options, are like,
Yeah.
oh, this is half the price. I can definitely do this. I really wanted the
Or
bigger
not only
one.
discount,
Yeah.
it doesn't even have to be a discount. You could do from yearly to when you tap the
True.
X. Here, just try it for a week,
Yep.
you know? Um, so it's all good stuff.
Very interesting.
Definitely something that people should try.
And that makes a lot of sense. I think the transition between multiple offerings, it's tricky. It's definitely not something that I would imagine can just work right out of the box with whatever default you have in mind, but experiment with that for a little bit. I believe it. I've done similar things on the web and they work really well. The one thing that I don't love myself is having someone dismiss something and then automatically get a real discount. And in this case, it doesn't sound like this is a real discount. It sounds like this is the difference between annual and monthly. But then people could game this and always just dismiss the paywall to get some sort of a real discount. So I personally would stay away from that. I would personally stay away from discounts in general unless they really make sense, like an end of year sale or summer sale or something cool or something really specific. But they do work, and within the Apple ecosystem, they work so well, and everything changes automatically. So it's intuitive, and we know that it works. Out of
You,
curiosity, oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
you could always do longer trials instead of discounts.
Hmm.
Some people
So
don't
much
want to
better.
devalue their brand. Yeah, do 7 day, then it's a 2 week or into 30 day.
And it doesn't devalue your
Um,
app, so they still think the app is worth however much you wanted, especially in that high LTV plan. They don't think it's worth now half the price. And when it's time for renewal, they'll be like, oh, but it's only worth half the price to me, which to me is my
yeah.
kind of the biggest win of doing something like this. But the other thing I was thinking about, I haven't seen the timeline in a lot of apps. Some of them state that, or some of them show that as bullet points or as little checkboxes, but I haven't seen this, and specifically with a trial reminder. Is this becoming more common now because you said that you love it? Oh, or is this something that we're seeing kind of in its early stages?
No, that's kind of started by Blinkist a few years ago. They did
Hmm.
this like free trial timeline with the trial reminder. Um, the amount that the trial reminder gets more people to pay
Hmm.
than it actually reminds people to cancel.
Really?
That's what they found.
Hmm.
But also, it's very important to know this. The Blinkist team arrived at this solution through surveying.
Okay.
So they when a user would click the X button on their paywall, they surveyed the user and they said, "Why didn't you just purchase?"
Hmm.
And what they found was most people didn't realize there was a free trial.
Hmm.
Then they created a graphic that kind of drove it home. So that's why it works for some people, not for other. It only works if the incumbent, if your control is particularly bad at sharing that there's a trial.
Oh, I see. So it's changing the mindset basically, or it's breaking the norm in a way that's hopefully more expected and more appreciated.
Yeah.
Interesting. That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
So take it with a grain of salt. And surveys, people should do surveys.
Absolutely. It's a tough one. I think it's really hard to do surveys properly, and it's a mindset shift to ask
It really
people
is.
what
Yeah.
do you think, and also provide them with some options for easy selection, options that would actually be useful later and not just make sense when you make the form. I've battled with this for years. It's a very interesting challenge, but it does work. People do give really meaningful feedback. We had a guest on the show I think last month, Dan, who talked about how to do surveys, and he said pretty much the exact same thing, that working at I forgot where he worked, but uh, Code Academy, I think. Yes, Code Academy. He said that they did that, and they did the same thing right after the paywall. You dismiss it, or you don't upgrade, or you don't take a subscription. They would ask you why, and he said there was a lot of meaningful feedback that came out of it that also led them to experiment with new things and actually increase their revenue. So definitely worth doing this. And it's kind of interesting to hear back-to-back experts saying do actual surveys. So ask people qualitative stuff.
Definitely.
Um, that's something. Maybe I should write a guide about how to do that. I love surveys. I think it's a great idea, but I'm also very chatty and I like talking to everything. So maybe I can channel some of that into something useful. Cool. So there's obviously a lot of good stuff that we see in here. The timeline is introducing people to giving them something for free, saying no payment now, also introducing something for free to someone who may not understand it. And this little trick of, hey, you didn't buy this, so let me try and get you again, whether with different features or different plans, I mean, or with a discount. It's not really, it is a discount, but it really isn't a discount. I think that's really clever. So
hmm
all of these are really easy to copy also. Maybe the last one is a little bit more challenging if you're doing this yourself. But the no payment required, moving your price below the CTA, only having one CTA, that's very clear. All those are just winners. So, okay,
hmm
perfect. Let's move on to the next. We're what, down to 3? And we still have a few more minutes. Okay, so the next one, another trivia game. That's the one I was thinking about before. Who's most likely to game? And I did not forget the apostrophe when I was copying and pasting. This is how it's in the App Store. The name is in the App Store. So, very different than what we've seen so far. Initial thoughts. We'll start with that.
Very different. Um, okay, I'm just gonna rapid fire.
Go for
100% free is a crazy thing to say, but I'm sure it helps conversions.
it.
Um, for free option, cancel anytime in the next 3 days, you won't be charged. Super easy to cancel. That's pretty good. I would put the $0 due now for free option above the available for free, and you will never need anything party game. Put that below the CTA. So
Yeah,
I'd swap what's above and what's below the CTA.
yeah,
Um,
easy. But only for the free
the
version in this case.
yes, yeah. The check marks are a little bit much. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd keep removing one by one until conversion rates start dropping, and then you'd learn which ones are actually important.
That's interesting. Yeah, I imagine doing
Um,
this with app updates is going to be just a nightmare. I would not want to do this.
yeah, this would be yeah, you need to figure something out to make changes.
Time it.
Um, I'm interested in oh, I see, free. Okay, yeah. I'm curious what the breakdown is. I would guess at least 85% are doing the yearly.
You think so?
I think so, yeah, because it has the free trial.
Oh, yeah. My thinking around that is a trivia game is usually something you probably need if you're at a party with a few friends and you just want to try something out, not necessarily something that you want to have on your phone forever. And 75 versus 7 is kind of 10x. So you'll just buy the $7 if you like what you see on the screen, or you'll try the free trial. And if it works and your friends are into it, or the group is into it, be like, okay, here's $7. But then you may forget to cancel, or you may cancel. So I think churn is going to be a real problem.
Probably.
What do you think about? And this is another serious question that I ask anyone who does subscriptions. What do you think about lifetime versus a subscription, or offering a lifetime at all?
So I think Lifetime is great for anchoring.
Really?
Um,
Okay.
I yeah, I don't think like if you know your LTV, you really have it dialed in,
Hmm.
then you may as well offer a lifetime of that LTV. I don't see a downside.
You would just go
Um,
1x LTV, not even 2x or 3x.
you can actually wait, no, I take that back because here's the issue. Everyone wants anyone who's subscribing wants your product with different demand.
Hmm.
And the people who are doing the lifetime, the people buying it have the highest demand for your product. So those are actually the people contributing to making your LTV higher,
Hmm.
but now you're cutting them off. So the people who choose lifetime are the ones who would have been paying you forever. Um, so yeah, I'm actually kind of against it.
Yeah.
I would consider using it as an anchoring thing. Or what you can do is you can take the top 10% of your whole subscriber base. So who are the top 10% of customers that have paid you the most money? And then
Hmm.
do an LTV projection on them,
Hmm.
and then maybe make that your lifetime offer.
Yeah. I would at least 2x that just to make it kind of out of reach normally, but maybe for someone. But I personally dislike lifetimes, especially for something that has a subscription, because in my mind as a customer, if my mom is thinking about this, like, why would I have to pay $7 a week for a trivia game? And then you start reasoning it. You say, okay, maybe they have some cost. They need to pay something to make it happen. Maybe they give me more things over time. And then you see lifetime and you go, wait, so they don't have a real cost. They don't have an ongoing cost. So it's not really worth
You're
seven
right.
bucks
Yeah,
a
it's
week. And it starts messing with your
that's
brain.
true.
I'm pretty sure my mom doesn't think that. I'm pretty sure I'm thinking like that. I'll teach my mom to think like that. But also, it's this sort of it's an inconsistency in offering. So, in my mind, if you want to offer a lifetime, it shouldn't be free monthly, yearly, lifetime. It should be monthly, yearly, and then lifetime somewhere else. It's kind of like, oh, you scrolled a little bit. You're a power user. Well, let me tell you what I can do for you because I like you, type thing. And that should be significantly more expensive. I would anchor with a yearly price, or if I could, with another tier that may have a few more features or may have faster updates for new trivia sets or something like that. Because I think ultimately that will make it a lot easier to get the user and keep that LTV. I think lifetime is maybe nice when you start, and I don't even like that, but doesn't really give you any more money later. So you're really just selling a single in-app purchase, kind of like back in 2012, just a more expensive one. I don't think that's good for business.
Yeah, so actually just in thinking about this a little bit more, there are really two scenarios where there are two scenarios with the lifetime. One is you're clipping a whale. So like there's a
Hmm.
whale that would have been spending a lot of money, but now they're
Yep.
just choosing a lifetime. But the other option, the option for lifetime is there are people who don't do subscriptions.
Hmm.
They just don't do it. They're just no matter what you say, they're like, this is software. I will not subscribe to it. They hate Netflix. Like there are
Hmm.
those people.
Oh, I
It's
know
a
those
big
people.
market. Those, but see, if you have a big user, if you have a big free user base, and the only reason why some people aren't converting is because you don't have a lifetime offer or because there's a subscription, then I can see an argument for it.
Okay.
But I would say it's the same thing as before. I lead with your lead with your subscriptions. If they say no to that, consider showing them a lifetime.
Okay, that's interesting. I like that idea. I kind of like that idea. Going back to what we're seeing with ReciMe again, that's your discount. Your discount.
Yeah.
I think the real question. So we started charging a subscription back 15 years ago for app figures, and people, especially in our community, developers. This is way before Apple did subscriptions. Like, I'm never going to pay you a subscription. I don't pay anyone a subscription. I said, do you have a phone? Because you probably pay your phone a subscription. Do you have cable TV? And we were like, yeah, but it's different. Most of those people eventually paid us because they needed what we had to offer. Now, it's a lot different, and the times were different. The kind of solutions that are available are different. And this is a B2C. This is for consumers who have a ton of options. We saw two trivia games on this alone, picked at random. I bet you there are many, many others. So it's hard to just drop it. It's hard to say, no, I need this. So I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to crawl through glass to get this. It's probably not going to happen. But at the same time, I do understand the nuances, and that's why I would make it a little bit different. But in general, something that I see in this that is kind of hurting my eyes is one, the contrast is really killing my eyes. But two, there's just so much on the screen that's going on. I don't really know what I need to do. And I mean, it's obvious. There's only one CTA, and it's available for $6.99, available for $74.99. Available is not an actionable word to me. It's available. Great. Moving on. And so if you
Yeah.
think about it
Try
with,
for free.
yeah, exactly. Try for free only or get for $6.99. Start syncing something that would work in Apple would not be against, obviously, and continue from there. And I think when you start with a price, and tell me what you think about this, when you start with the price and then go to features, it's as if you're saying, buy my price, and the features will kind of back it up. Where I think about it differently, you're buying the features. You're buying the dream of playing music trivia with your friends, and everything is working fine, and everyone is happy, and everyone is smiling and laughing. And all you have to pay for that is $6.99 a week, as opposed to you have to pay $6.99 a week, and then you get some features.
Agreed.
So
Totally agreed.
I would definitely flip those. By the way, I'm being told by people who like the show that I should ask for likes. So if you like what you're seeing so far, especially if you find it useful, please give us a like. Not the little heart on the chat, the real like, the thumbs up. Are you giving us a like,
I just
Jake?
did a thumbs up.
Nice.
I
If
just
Jake
did it,
can do
yeah.
it, so can you. I should remind myself. I should actually automate something that will pop open a, hey, give us a like if you like this. If you don't like this, give us a thumbs down so we know that we're doing something terrible. But please tell us before and don't give us a thumbs down. Actually, thumbs down do give the algorithm something to work with, so tell me how you feel. I'm just curious. But good. People are liking this and they're putting this in the chat, so we're good.
Awesome.
So
I want to leave this one with some actionable advice.
Okay.
I would so there's this card at the bottom that's like the 3-day trial, 3 days free, what you get in the check marks. I would move that above the picker.
Ooh, interesting.
Totally in line with what you said.
Yep.
I would actually put the picker, I would consider just putting that as a button for more pricing under the CTA. Just lead with the highest LTV product.
Yeah.
And the 100% free for free option, cancel anytime the next 3 days, I'd put that under the features. So I would go features, 100% free with text, and then more options, and then the CTA.
Yeah. I would also thin down maybe the feature list a little bit, maybe combine to give it a little bit more oomph. If you have so many features, then it's just too many things. It's kind of like when I talk about keywords. The algorithm has 100% of its attention, and the more keywords you have, the more you dilute it. People are really in the same boat. They have 100% of attention, and if you spread it over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, now you're getting a fraction of that. Ooh, I want this times 8, and I bet you not everyone wants all those 8 features. Whereas if you have 3 big things, have fun with your friends, get them to laugh, drink a little bit more. Great. That's really all you need out of a trivia game in my experience. So ultimately, that's what it is. And when I talk about App Store optimization and even search ads optimization, it's really about take away the features, bring in the intent. Take away the features, bring in the intent. This is where this sort of strategy really, really helps, even more so than keywords.
Totally. And I bet they can figure out what that feature is by looking at which paywall placement in the app has the highest conversion rate.
Yep.
So is it because they're trying to access all decks? Is that the one that has the highest conversion rate? You know?
Yeah.
Or is it, I don't know, making your own drinking rules. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. And then you can have what we were talking about before, very specialized, even if it's a template that only highlights one feature, and kind of sprinkle them across the system. And those should be very easy to do. I think Superwall will make it even easier to do, but you don't even need a tool. You just need to have that sort of strategy of when they need something, I'm going to give it to them. I'm not going to give them too much, not too little, somewhere in the middle. And I would get rid of the lifetime access. I think that's bad. I think it confuses. And if you want that, I would increase it to maybe a $199 that no one will ever buy unless they really care. But
totally.
I say all this again with your grain of salt I'm taking because I don't really know the mechanics of this particular trivia game. $7, if you think about it annually, is a lot of money. And so that's still going to be very different. So I don't know what a yearly for this would be and what would satisfy the cost of running this. So keep that in mind, but experiment. All right, we have 9 minutes. I want to have a segment at the end where we talk about some tips, general tips to help people who are working on paywalls or who are trying to optimize outside of just this hands-on experience. So we'll try to do one more app as quickly as we can, hopefully under 5 minutes, and then we'll get to tips. So let's see. Birda, Bird ID, and birding. Oh, I can talk about the keywords in this for a while, but we're not going to do that. That's for a different live stream. Let's talk about this paywall. I'm looking at it and I'm seeing interesting elements from all the other paywalls that we saw today. There's definitely a lot going on. I do see that. But app of the day looks good. Fox, Forbes, BBC looks interesting. Some reviews looks interesting to me. A big list of features. I can refer back to everything I said up until now. Where does your mind go when you look at this?
Honestly, I kind of like it. I have big pieces of advice for actually.
Okay.
Um, okay, the first thing I love that it says save 70%. I love that the 70% is big.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that, well, I don't know. Classic marketing wisdom says 70% off does better than save 70%.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to consider. So that's one piece of advice.
That's an easy experiment too.
Two, yeah. Two is no payment due now. I would add that for sure somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, I don't fully, I don't fully like I when I look at this, the first thing I don't realize, oh my God, this is free for 7 days, you
Mm.
know?
Yep.
So something like that would be great. Like it's a shame, and that's a shame,
Yeah.
you know? It's a shame that there's a trial and people don't realize it. I'm assuming. Um, Second, I would put the yearly and the month like you saw where it says yearly
Mm-hmm.
only I would make that 7 day trial,
Oh yes.
for example.
It's
Um,
kind of crazy how people don't see the trial, especially when I guess it's because not all apps really do a trial, so it takes a lot of reading. And the goal here is to take away that requirement. No reading requirement will get you more conversions.
totally. Um, the CTA button at the bottom, I would also make the text as big as the 70, and a little bit taller.
My problem with the CTA at the bottom, it just looks like another option. There's a yearly, there's a monthly, and there's a blue option. So maybe round those corners a little bit more, make it feel like a button. The
That's a
fact
good
that
idea.
it's a gradient doesn't really, in my mind, turn it into a button if it looks like all the other elements on the screen. So it's kind of like a selection, especially because the spacing is almost exactly identical, just a little bit bigger. And
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, they're all sequential and they're all on the bottom. And I have a feeling, I don't know how this works, but it kind of feels to me like that's above the scrollable area on top. So it just
Yep.
feels like those are options. And I'm just looking for where's the next button? How do I get out of this? Where's the swipe down? How do I make this go away type thing? And I'm also thinking maybe this will change what I see on the screen. And maybe that's how it works. Maybe it isn't. I'm not sure. But that's not a good thing. I think
Oh, interesting.
all those thoughts are the kind of things you don't want people to have as you're trying to get them to choose how to give you money.
Agreed. Agreed on all fronts. But overall, I think it's a pretty good paywall.
Yeah, I like that it's light, and I like that it has contrast, a little bit more contrast. The button's questionable, but everything else is pretty straightforward. The blue, I also like blue in general, but blue and the white, I think they work.
Agreed.
Other than the CTA area here, what would you change if there's anything you would change?
It really depends where they are in their testing journey.
Hmm.
I always recommend, and honestly, maybe we can just kind of move into the tips at the same time because my first tip would kind
Sounds
of be
good.
advice for them. So yeah, my first tip is if you haven't done testing or you've only done a little bit of testing, you should start over. So make a paywall, make a paywall that is as simple as can be.
Hmm.
One product. I don't care what your branding is. Make the background white or make it gray,
Yeah.
and just put text with the subtitle, and just figure out what the hell you need to say to get people to buy.
That's a valid
And
point.
it doesn't matter. Forget about your actual absolute conversion rate. No one is saying that this is going to be your best paywall,
Hmm.
but we're going to figure out your messaging, and
Yeah.
and if you're running ads, it's usually the same messaging. For my
Hmm.
app with Fitness AI, the message that worked was get stronger faster.
Hmm.
If I said that, it was like fairy dust. It just so the numbers went up. And so then I was like, okay, now I know what kind of graphic to make.
Hmm.
I should make a graphic that shows you that you get stronger faster.
Yeah.
Um, and so it seems like they added things that they think would work,
Hmm.
but I have a feeling where if they just figured out what their messaging was, figured out their core feature, show a graphic for that feature or make a video for that feature,
Hmm.
I think conversion rates can go up a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. How much time do you give each one of these very basic type of experiments? Because that could also be really really bad if it doesn't look great.
Yeah, so this is a it's a big question. The question is
I try.
how long do you have to run a test for? And
Hmm.
the annoying answer is it depends how good the variants are.
Hmm.
So this is the example I always give. Right, the Olympics are going on right now.
Hmm.
Let's say me and you, Ariel, we're having a little. We have to set a little debate for who's a faster runner.
Hmm.
Um, and so we'll run a race, and I'll win by a footstep,
Yep.
right? So then we're like, okay, got to run another one. That wasn't really fair.
Yep.
We run another one. Now you win by a footstep, right? So to figure out who's fastest between the two of us might be kind of hard. Might have to run a
Hmm.
bunch of races.
Yep.
But if you're going up against, Usain Bolt, you 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 don't even you could tell within half a race
Yeah.
who's faster, and you don't need to run more experiments.
Yeah. That's very true.
Um, so so it depends. It depends if you're testing something really good versus really bad. Then you learn quicker.
Hmm.
So it is possible to run really good experiments with low traffic. You
Yeah.
just have to take big swings.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up. So if you do find little changes that are maybe not even statistically significant, you're saying throw away that experiment, try something bigger, go bigger
Yes. You need
instead
you
of
need to find,
iterating.
yep, absolutely.
Oh, I love that.
Um, so depends. Make small changes, but then also make big changes. It's just
Yeah.
like there's so much conflicting advice. I don't know.
Well, from
Um,
my experience, if you make big changes, especially if you're trying to test something really, really new, whether it's new messaging or a new way of showing things, go big. Go big right at the beginning because it's so much easier to refine after you have something good. But if you refine just a little
totally.
bit, if it's a button's color or maybe some small piece of text, you flip something little, it's also in theory will give you little results. And so
Exactly.
go big, figure out what you really need to be doing, and then refine that. That's what I've seen in all of my experiments. And I love experimenting, especially with pricing, and it's so difficult because there's so many variables that you can change. Luckily, with a landing page, if you're not going too crazy, you can do that one at a time, as long as you're taking big swings and you're doing them rapidly, and then eventually just kind of focus and refine. Cool. So that's tip
Absolutely.
number one. What else do you have for us?
Tip number two, we touched on before. Use the X button as a more pricing page.
Okay.
So when the X button, literally like sometimes people have a more pricing button and like a sheet comes up from the bottom and it shows them more pricing. Literally have your X button do the same thing and then have a no thanks below those options
Yep.
that closes the paywall. That's tip number two.
Interesting.
Tip number three, I tweeted about a while ago, and it's such a good hack. Um, so from when you push this button, start 7-day free trial, like the Apple payment sheet comes out across all of our apps on Superwall, only 50% of the people end up actually paying,
Oh, wow.
which means they're interested, but they don't like the price, quite
Hmm.
literally,
Yeah.
right? Maybe they tapped it without realizing the price.
Yep.
And so what we do is we let you show a paywall in that moment, change the offer. Now, Apple is a little weird here. They say you're not allowed to show a better offer,
Hmm.
but better is subjective.
Yeah. You can show a
So
different offer.
you can show a different offer. Yeah.
Yep.
So if you're doing 7 days free on annual, you can show 7 days free for weekly.
Okay. That's a
You
different
can show
offer.
lifetime. It's not necessarily better, it's
Yeah.
just different.
Or 3 day on a
Um,
monthly or something if you really wanted that. A 1 day on a
yeah,
monthly.
exactly.
Huh.
And for that, we see up to 20% of revenue as well. So that's as
Oh, wow.
powerful as the close trick. Yeah. Um,
That's wild. So if I get what you were talking about is one, show people that there's something that they can start for free, but yell it, scream it, make sure that they see it because they may not intuitively expect to get stuff for free within an app. And then if they still ignore that or misunderstand or don't understand, show them again, remind them, reiterate.
Give them another shot on goal.
Yep,
Yep,
exactly. So always be thinking kind of a paywall is really a two-step as opposed to just here's my price, yes or no. And it's more of a here's my
exactly. Yeah,
price, yes or no. Oh, you don't like this? Come back. I got something else for you.
totally. Yep. the real the simple question is what like the question we all ask ourselves naively is what's the best price to show everybody?
Hmm.
Um, but I think it's the wrong question. The right question is how can I figure out what each individual person is willing to pay
Hmm.
in that moment?
Yeah.
And so by doing this thing where like you offer one, then a different one, then a different one, you sort of like you're able to hone in on where the user is.
Yeah.
You're really building an algorithm
Yeah.
for finding someone's price, you know?
That's very true. And if you figure that out in the
Yeah.
future, you can show that price right away, or you can modify your process to have that if you see that 80% of your users are actually dropping off at the first paywall and taking the second paywall. So you have a lot of opportunities here. And then at the end, you can also still ask them, hey, why didn't you? And even if you get a
Exactly.
tiny fraction of people actually responding to this, that's still more than zero. And more than zero is going to be more than helpful, in my opinion.
That's signal.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. This is
Um,
great. Do you have any more? I think we're out of
cool.
time, but if you have any more, we'll take them. Or if not,
That was it. Those
okay.
my other one was the no payment due now trick with the check mark. You need the check mark.
Oh,
But
beautiful.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
gonna put all of these tips in the video description later for later. I'm
cool.
starting to think we need to come up with a nice guide for how to do this and sprinkle in some more of our data. I think that would be really cool. But
Love it.
this was awesome. If your app was on screen, I hope you go out, make those changes, and if you do, please tell us. We'd love to hear. You know my email because I send a lot of emails. Jake is what's easy? What's the easiest way to get in touch with you, Jake? On Twitter?
Twitter, at Jake Moore, or jake@superwall.com is
Perfect.
my email. Yep, reach out to me. Would love to help. We help people all day, so don't feel like you're bothering me.
That's your job now, helping people with
Yeah,
paywalls.
it's my job now.
And if you want to
Exactly.
try out Paywall, Superwall, we'll put a link to that also in the video description so you can see what you can do and improve your Paywall experience. That's pretty
Awesome.
much all we have for you today. Jake, thank you so much for doing this again. Hopefully the audio quality was great and you didn't have to battle double sounds. But
It
if that
was
was good,
amazing. Yes.
just amazing is exactly what I was aiming for. Hopefully you'll come back if we do revisit of these apps, if they get back to us and tell us what they did and how it made their bottom line better. And so make sure you're subscribed to my newsletter to find out about this. And is there anything, Jake, that you want to mention before we take off?
Use app figures. It's incredible.
Thank you. I didn't pay him for this.
Happy user since did we look? I think we looked. I was in
Hmm.
high school when I started using app figures.
Yeah, many
So that
years
was
ago.
10 years ago.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's
That's
crazy.
incredible. Well, again,
Yeah.
Jake, thank you very much for being on the show and sharing your wisdom and sharing your knowledge and the grains of salt. And hopefully we'll get to
My
see you
pleasure.
on here again. If anyone has any questions, you know where to find us or leave a comment on the video later. Take care, everyone.
Bye,
We'll
everybody.
see you in the next one.